Welcome to episode 5 of the Eddie Donan Show. First and foremost, I want to thank everyone for watching, for all your comments, your feedback. I really appreciate it. It's a lot of effort to put the content together to bring to you. So I really value your opinion, your feedback, and also your emails. I want to know what topics you want me to cover, who you want me to bring into the show, what is interesting to you, because after all, that's what I'm doing it for, to inform you and bring value from the real estate aspect to you guys. I'm here with my partner, Matthew Finklestein from the Eddie Donan team. How you doing, man?
I'm great. How you doing?
Fantastic. He's on his second show here.
Second show.
Yeah, he liked the first one so much that now he decided to come back.
I was invited back. I was surprised.
You made it back. You did it well. You did it well. Today, I really want to do a year-end recap. So it's December right now, and the year just flew by, man.
It's gone.
It's awesome.
That's it. It's just done.
Yeah, it's awesome. Time flies.
Time flies.
And it's such a cliche word. I never really understood the meaning of it until like last few years, because it's been fast.
It is. Yeah, absolutely.
It's like one of those cliches that I used to tell people all the time just to make conversation. Well, you know, they grow up so fast with kids.
Oh, well, things are different for you now. But
yeah, now that I have kids,
yeah,
it's like,
you have to.
Holy
it's
crap, it really does.
Busy.
They really do grow up so fast. I find that super interesting. So we're going to do a recap of where the market has taken us this year, because it's been an exciting year.
It's been truly ups and downs.
Eventful.
Yeah.
Exciting.
Yeah.
Good for some.
Good for some. Opportunities for others.
Yeah. So we're definitely going to be taking a look into that. And we're going to be answering your questions. Because a lot of you guys reach out from the content that I'm putting on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and there's a lot of questions that we want to answer for you. And we want to give you an outlook as to what we can expect for 2023. Because like, as anybody watching this, that's a question. What's going to happen next year? So I'm going to bring out my crystal ball. Where is it? I left it. But I'm going to bring out my crystal ball and I'm going to show you guys what I think is going to be happening, where there are areas of opportunities in the market, and what you should be looking for if you're going to be doing a move in 2023. So getting to it, first of all, I think it's important for us to lay the groundwork. 2021 was record year in Toronto real estate sales, right? And right now, 2022 came off with a bang. It didn't stop.
January, February,
Yeah, it didn't stop. So it feels to me that, you know, there was no holiday, there was no break really. It was November, December, January, February, everything was super hot, right? And it was one of the times that I'll tell you how hot this was. It was, if you had a particular buyer looking for, those starter homes were always the hottest actually.
Yes.
If you remember correctly, and we've spoken about this. And a house would come up on the market, let's say today. And because of COVID restrictions, they weren't being allowed to have double bookings. So essentially, you couldn't have two sets of buyers in that house. You need to have one of them. So the showings are being restricted for 15 minutes to allow all the traffic, all the demand that was out there to see the houses. And for the first time in my 15-year career, for the first time, I actually had properties that I could not book showings for.
Yep. They were all booked.
It was all booked.
No time slots available.
No time slots available. I would have to book the showings for 10, 11 p.m. at night because that was the only slot that was available. And I would call the listing agent and say, hey, listen, can I go earlier and try to figure something out? And, you know, usually would be able to do something. But I've never seen that before.
Oh, there was lineups in front of some houses just waiting for the next showing. You would get there and like, okay, what time are you? What time are you? And you were waiting.
Correct.
I haven't seen that before.
And we'll talk about it later, I guess. I think we will see it again at one point or another. But that's to be debated. So we started off the year with a high number of sales. Again, the supply was low. We've always had an inventory problem in the Greater Toronto Area. And even right now that the market has taken a little bit of a dive, we still have that inventory problem. That hasn't been solved. Now, the demand at the beginning of the year was just insane.
It's huge.
And if we look at it now that we have hindsight 2020 vision, it was a matter of fact that we were getting free money as buyers. So investors were happy because you're getting interest rates at 2%, under 2%.
Under 2%.
You're getting 2% fixed in some cases. So money was essentially free.
Yeah.
If you factor in the fact that inflation is so high,
exactly.
You know, so money is essentially free. So we're giving free money to go buy properties. The demand was insane. Even though the pricing was quote unquote high, the cost of borrowing is very low. So you had that build up demand and buyers were just going crazy.
And it was like that all through January, through February.
You were seeing pricing increase in a matter of a week. And I remember I used to laugh with you when we were pricing properties. Is how do you price a property? In fact, you didn't know how to price a product. A lot of people didn't know.
You would look at the last house that sold, and then you would add money to that.
Yeah.
And you didn't go past a week or two.
No.
Which is unheard of.
Yeah, there's no need. There's no need to look for a lot of comps. Just look at the last house.
Yeah.
See how many offers it got if you can figure that out, and then buyers will fight for themselves to try to get the house. But what was happening back then, of course, was the demand was high. So inventory we've talked about was low, and you had all these bidding wars, all these people fighting for homes, and pricing was going up every single week. And I remember you and I had that discussion. We had the discussion last year because last year was pretty hot. And eventually, I was talking to Matthew and I said, "Listen, I'm getting my stuff in order because I think this is going to stop. There's going to be a stop to this, right? It smells too much like 2016, 2017,
Yeah.
right? And we have to remember we can't predict what's going to happen. We never can, but we can look at cycles. And what was happening in earlier this year was very similar to what was happening in late 2016, early 2017. So I had a feeling, I didn't know when this was going to happen, but I had a feeling that we were going to get that deflation coming and it's going to be a matter of just a slowdown. So we were actually getting our stuff together to potentially be ready to make real estate investments, what I talk about a lot, because it's a good time to invest when the market starts to come down. And then lo and behold, of course, interest rates started to come up.
Yeah.
And what that did immediately is it made affordability an issue for buyers.
Yeah.
Immediately.
A lot of the buyers had to back off. That demand's cooled off. So you still have the same inventory, but the number of buyers is disappearing
Correct.
because their purchase power is gone. That free money you were just talking about,
All right.
you're now paying a higher interest rate on that.
All right.
So interest rates are climbing. So
Yeah.
that's when the dynamic changed.
Yeah. I find it's also a mindset sort of thing, right? Because at first, what I was getting a lot, and you're on the phones a lot, so what we're getting from buyers is that, well, interest rates just went up. It's kind of like they're expecting for something else to happen, like whether they're going to go back down, so I'm going to wait for them to go back down, which they won't, or they weren't, or they're waiting for pricing to come down. So immediately what that happens when you start seeing change is that the buyers, I have a saying that the market is between both ears. It's all in your mindset, right? So buyers take a break.
And
What's a natural approach? You wait and see. Let's see what happens.
Wait and see.
And when you wait and see what happens, there's some downward pressure on the market. Number of sales started coming down.
Yeah.
Every single month, month over month. Since March, you started seeing a decrease in number of sales. Very similar, again, to what happened in 2017. And then pricing started to correct itself. Month over month over month.
Yeah.
And now we're here. And the reality with it is all caused by a matter of affordability. There's always some sort of interference that happens within the market that helps it regulate itself. It's a cycle, and then we'll see where it goes in the next couple of months, next couple of years. It's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen.
Yeah, it's that whole concept of the interest rates, or what are they doing with it? Is it still going up? Are they going to stop? And how that impacts affordability. And I think that's the key word right now is the affordability. It's not so much the interest rates, the pricing. It's how your affordability matches the value.
Correct.
What you could have bought before when it was a higher price, lower interest rate, how that's now changed, lower price, higher interest rate, and how that affects you as a buyer.
100%. That's all. The majority of buyers, the people who are sitting in cash right now, you have a couple $1 million just sitting in the bank account, you're laughing because you're picking up at a discount. And yes, it is a discount. And I know a lot of people watching right now think that they're still going to go down, and it might. But at the end of the day, if you compare the average price today with the average price 5 years ago, you're still up a few $100,000.
Yeah.
If you compare that price with 5 years before, you're still up. So you are buying at a discount. The present is a discount of the future. The market's going to do the fluctuations that it always does, inevitably. You're going to have periods of rapid growth, and then you're going to have decline like we're doing right now, but it's going to go back up. So people who do not need to rely on interest, on loans, they can buy property right now at a really, really good price, and they're going to be laughing when they pull the equity out and buy more. So a lot of wealth can be created in these moments for people who actually are sitting on capital, and that's where you're going to start seeing. I believe in the next 12 months, you're going to see people capitalizing the opportunities. We've seen it already. There's a lot of our investors are very happy that they're making moves out there, but I think that tendency is going to continue well into 2023. Going back into the market, so it started off super hot. You were having record number of sales, record number of pricing. We talked about the multiple offers, low interest rates. We talked about the fact that some people couldn't even get into seeing the properties. That's how hot it was. That's how many buyers it was. And I saw a ridiculous number of offers, like 60 offers for a property. Then interest rates start going up. We talked about the market being in between people's ears. People started getting logically afraid of more increases to come, which they did, by the way. So they were right.
Yeah.
And they were afraid of pricing coming down.
Yeah.
Pricing
came down.
Came down significantly.
It did.
Let's not sugarcoat it.
And
I see like a lot of people.
Spring through summer. It didn't come down under last year's price until late fall, October, November.
Correct. It was resilient because we had such a strong gain. Again, talking from 2021 being a record year, 2020 being a very strong year. Consider the fact that we were closed down for about 3 months that you couldn't even show houses. So it was a very strong year. So the growth was happening, and then it started to come down. And one interesting thing that pricing has actually stopped coming down for the last 2-3 months. It's very stable. The month-over-month change in pricing in the home price index is actually very, very low, close to zero. So we can say that as of right now, it seems to have leveled off. So whatever dropped, it seems to have stopped dropping. We don't know what the new interest rate hike that has happened will do. More than likely, it's going to drop a little bit more. But it seems that consumer confidence is back out there. People are starting to look. They've accepted the reality of the rates being what they are. And one thing compensates the other. Because back in February, the pricing was very high. The interest rates were low. But people were complaining about the fact that pricing was up. Now pricing is more affordable, dollar per dollar, but the interest rates are high. So your cost of borrowing kind of offsets that. So it's really not a win situation any way you look at it. I'd say at this moment in time, right now, when I'm recording this show, it seems that the market has bounced off. Months of inventory are not high. They're not low. I think it's a very balanced market. Listings, our houses that we're putting up for sale, they're selling. There's offers going on, even right now, well into December. There's a lot of buyer interest in it. If the home is properly priced, it will sell. So I think we reached to a point where it's balanced. As I mentioned before, the buyers are out there. There's not a lot of houses for sale. We still have that inventory problem. There's not a huge selection of homes that are up for sale. And I think that's what's keeping the price flat. As we mentioned before, the pricing has stopped coming down for the last few months. And we'll see where it takes us next year, with the interest rates and the demand out there.
Well, that's one of the first questions I was going to ask you is, so you're talking about balancing, prices have come down, they're stabilizing. How long before they go back up?
Okay.
Because they will go up.
They will,
but
unless...
are we talking early 2023? Is it 24? When are they going back up?
Okay. So I think what's going to start happening right now is that people are going to accept the interest rates for what they are. Because a lot of real estate moves are not only done for people to make money. What people have to understand is most of you guys are moving because there's a need for you to move, or a want, or a desire. So we have a lot of families that are looking to upsize. They entered the market 5-6 years ago into a condo. Now it's a time for them to go into a house. The fact that the market is not as great as it was before, it doesn't really affect them that much, as long as the affordability is there. We've talked before, and I've talked a lot about upsizing and changing homes, about the gap. The gap is the difference from what you're selling for to what you're buying. And that gap is obviously going to be a difference in your mortgage. And as long as you can afford that, then you can make the move into a bigger house. So those people are always going to be there. There's always going to be people who are going to be looking to downsize, because they need to, for the perfect example, seniors. They might not be in a position to live in a 2-story home. They might want a bungalow, or they might want a condo. Those people are going to move regardless of what the market's doing. So I think that once everyone accepts the fact that the rates have changed and they're no longer 2%, we're going to start seeing more sales going up. What's going to remain a problem is going to be the inventory, because that's what causes all these issues of pricing going up, and there's just not enough homes for sale. So I wouldn't be surprised if we start getting into a seller's market a lot sooner than most people think. In my experience, I feel a lot of buyers are out there. We're dealing with a lot right now. So I feel the demand is going back up, and the supply will never catch up, not anytime soon. So I wouldn't be surprised if pricing going back up. Now there's talks by Bank of Canada, by deputy economists, that interest rates might actually come down not next year, but probably the year after that. So I think that's
into the next question is interest rates. So they've been climbing, and we've been hearing some talk about what's going to happen this year. Are they going to keep climbing? Are they coming down? What are kind of the next steps, and how that relates with inflation?
Yeah, well, that's a loaded question, because we can't really know the answer, but the talks are that
just relaying the questions I'm being asked.
That's a very good question. To close off on the first one, though, I do feel that pricing will start to come up probably end of year 2023. You're going to start seeing growth coming back up, and then it's going to be progressive until it hits another peak, and this happens all over again. Why I say that? Because it's super interesting, right? Everyone's comparing this to 2017, right? And one question that I was asked right before I came into this podcast was, how long did it take for pricing to come back to what it was in the peak of 2017? So the peak of 2017, the average composite price was $865,000. Okay, that was in the peak of the market, which happened to be in April of 2017. Now the pricing came down to the 700 range, and how long did it take for it to come back up? And the answer is we took 3 years, 3 years and 4 months, approximately there. So it was, I think, back in August of 2020 that we saw the average price going back up to 869. So to answer that question, how long it might take for it to come back up to where it was back in March of this year, it's probably going to be a good 3 years. Because what's going to happen is that they're going to start seeing growth. People are going to go back into the market. If the interest rates come back down, there's going to be more buyers, and this cycle will repeat itself. But I don't really see that we're going to see, I don't really think that we're going to see a growth in price of it spiking back up to where it was at least at the beginning of this year for another couple of years. I think it's going to be a progressive growth, and then we'll see what happens.
And then what's going to happen with the interest rates?
Well, the interest rates, from what they're saying, is that they're probably going to put a stop to the immediate hikes. Remember, we got to keep in mind this has been a record-breaking year as far as interest rate hikes have gone. The overnight lending rate as of today is 4.25. That seems to be in line with what the Bank of Canada and most economists call for it to be for the next year. Right? Now, the supply chain is improving, which means that more than likely inflation will start to come down. And once inflation starts to come down or it gets leveled off, interest rates will come down as well. I remember reading that the target interest rate for overnight lending rate will probably be around 2.75. Right now we're at 4.25. So you can expect, if everything goes as planned and projected by the Bank of Canada, that you will see a point, even a point and a half coming down once inflation is under control.
Yeah.
And this can more than likely will happen at the end of the year, beginning of 2024. You're going to start seeing those rate reductions.
Yeah. And as the rates come down, the buyers start to come back.
Correct.
And it starts to increase demand.
Correct.
So the pricing, everything kind of will start to pick up again.
Correct. So what I want to emphasize, you mentioned affordability. What I want to emphasize that affects the most is consumer confidence. Okay? Because like everyone asks the question when the market is so hot, it's like, why is it so hot? Why does it go up so much? It's because everyone feels free to buy, right? They feel, okay, you know what? Everyone's buying. I'm going to might as well do what I have to do and buy right now, right? So as long as consumer confidence is there, then supply and demand, the demand's always going to beat the supply, and pricing will continue to go up. So I think when people start seeing the interest rates coming down, it becomes that kind of perfect storm in where the market is already hot and everyone's going to try to jump in because the rates are low again, and you're going to see another very, very hot market. Remember, what's been happening for the last 20 years in the Greater Toronto Area is that there's periods of rapid growth because that supply and demand we're talking about, it just keeps on going up. And then there's something that happens, whether it's government interference or it's interest rate hikes, that really puts people in a wait-and-see approach. But once they get confidence again that it's okay to buy, it just keeps on going up.
So right now I'm a first-time home buyer. Is it better to wait? Should I take action now?
If you would have been a first-time home buyer 5 years ago, in 2017, we're in a very similar period of time. 2017, we talked about it, the peak of the market, then around this time it was low, right? I think you would have wished you would have bought in November 2017.
Oh, absolutely. Who wouldn't?
So to answer your question, I would say the time is now.
Yeah.
Right? The time for you to get into the market when you're a first-time home buyer is when you can qualify. So if you can qualify for a mortgage right now, and if you can find a property that's somewhat suitable for you to enter that property, step into the property ladder, I'd say do it. There's no point in waiting. There's no point in trying to time the market. We've seen that the market coming down in prices, you said it very well, is a direct result of interest rates going up. So even if the pricing comes down a little bit more next year, it's because rates will be higher, which will make it tougher as a first-time buyer for you to qualify. So I think if you can qualify right now, and if you're thinking of entering the property ladder or the market, I think it's a perfect time to do it. Don't wait. If you can qualify, and it's a first-time home buyer, it's always better for you to be paying 5-6% interest rate than paying rent.
Right. And then just with that, the affordability of that, when you're paying your interest, yes, the prices are lower, but where's your money going? Is it, back at the beginning of the year, interest rates were lower, so your money, your mortgage payments were going towards your principal. Whereas now the interest rates are higher,
Correct.
Your money's now going towards the interest,
Correct.
to the bank.
The bank, yeah.
So that's the affordability, that comparison
Absolutely.
there. Yeah.
Absolutely. And one thing to mention is a lot of people don't think that the interest rates will remain at 5 or 6% forever. And in fact, most economists are predicting that it's going to go down. We talked about that a couple of minutes ago. But if they do go down, you're going to refinance and your monthly payment will actually be lower. So you're going to take advantage of that.
Right.
So at that point, it's a win-win situation for you as a buyer because you've bought at a lower price. I can guarantee the price right now in 2022 is going to be lower than the price in 2027. So you bought at a lower price and you're also paying less interest. So you've actually hit the lottery with this. You hit the jackpot.
Hitting the jackpot. What are the opportunities right now?
So right now, opportunities in the market, I think there's plenty for first-time home buyers. I think that the fact that there's not that much competition, that many bidding wars that were so intimidating for a family looking to buy their first home, they've never done this again. Now they're competing with 20 or 30 other buyers and agents blindly because they don't know what they're offering. That's gone. So I think that's a perfect opportunity for you to get into the market. I'll repeat it again. I think paying a mortgage, as long as you can afford it, buy within your means, is always better than paying for rent. Because you're paying 100% of that landlord's mortgage. So I think the opportunities for first-time buyers are there. For investors, this is time for you to build your portfolio. Properties that you couldn't afford back in February, now they're within your reach. Yes, even though the interest rate is a little bit higher, we mentioned you can always refinance at a lower rate if they do come down. You're picking up a nice place for yourself. Also, the rental market is hot, so you can get better rents than you were able to get at the beginning of the year. And for upsizers, I think families that were being beaten up when they were bidding for those bigger homes, now they have a better chance. And the smaller homes and condos, they haven't been affected as much as far as pricing goes. So for somebody who's looking to move from that condo or from that townhouse into a detached double-car garage, I think it's a good opportunity to do it right now. So those are the main areas that I see in the market.
So those are all the questions I had, but I got one final question for you.
Okay.
What's your outlook for next year? What's your advice for everyone for next year?
Okay, I would say for buyers, my advice would be, I mentioned it before, if you're a first-time home buyer, definitely make a plan to get into the market, but buy within your means. Okay, we're going to go in a period, more than likely recession. Things are going to change. So if you are entering the market, make sure that you can afford it. Affordability is key. Don't focus that much on the asking price. Don't focus that much on the interest rate. Focus, if you're a first-time home buyer, on securing a property that you can make your payments.
Right.
Okay? If you're an investor, I think it's important for you to be aggressive, but don't overspread yourself. Don't go into properties that are going to be too negative in cash flow, that you're going to get into problems. So the opportunities are there. I know a lot of investors, myself included, yourself included, we're hungry, we're looking for deals, but just make sure you're not spreading yourself too thin. As far as outlook for the market goes, I think we're going to see something very similar to what we saw in 2018. And I keep on referencing back because I think the best predictor of future performance is past history. So I think in 2018 we saw a very flat market for the main part. I think the interest rates are still going to have an effect on people's mindset for what's going to be happening. I think consumer confidence is coming back a little bit faster than it was back then, but I think affordability will always remain an issue for the remainder of the year. So I think you're going to see a slow period, but I don't think it's going to be pricing continue to come down that much. I think it's going to level off. And towards the end of the year, I can definitely see pricing starting to come back up. Absolutely.
Perfect.
Well, Matthew, thank you so much for joining us for another one. Yes. I want to wish everyone from the Eddie Donan team, from our staff, a very happy holiday season.
Healthy, happy New Year.
Yeah. Hope that you party a lot, you have a really good time.
Yeah. And
want to thank you again for your support. I want to thank you for watching our videos, for sharing, for sending it to coworkers, to friends. That's really how we know that we're doing a good job, and it really keeps us going. And in the new year, I want to provide a lot more content, a lot more information about real estate, and also pretty much my goal with this is to keep you ahead of what's happening and provide insight for you. So again, thank you for the journey this year. Thank you for your support, and we'll come back in 2023.